ActionFigureResource.com. Yesterday's toys, today's treasures.
LEGO Minifigures, a collecting report for ActionFigureResource. LEGO is the most beloved, popular and consistently successful toy in the world, recognized by parents, children and educators alike as a toy that encourages creativity and play, with many fans retaining their passion well beyond childhood and throughout their lives. The first building blocks from the Danish company were manufactured in 1949. Since then, the influence has rippled throughout the toy industry decade after decade, and given way to video games, amusement parks, and movies. As of 2013, around 560 billion LEGO parts have been produced. The very first LEGO minifigures were released in 1975, along with Duplo sets. Duplo, as most will know, is the oversized infant building blocks. They had immovable legs and thin arms moulded onto their torso, along with creepy blank faces and hats or hair pieces. They were far closer, in fact, to chess pieces than they were to today's minifigures. 3 years later, in 1978, possibly aided by the sudden surge of interest in action figures precipitated by the Kenner Star Wars line, the first themed minifigures were released in space, castle and town sets. What you see here was the standard for 11 years. Every face was identical, vacant, innocent and yellow, with dot eyes and a smile. This made them somewhat more endearing, encouraging constructive play with these trusting little automatons which were there to lend a stylized humanity and a sense of scale to the buildings and vehicles that you built. Then in 1989, LEGO stepped up their game and added the pirate theme to their existing 3. Blank, standardized faces wouldn't fit with a roguish, swashbuckling ethic, so new personality-filled and frequently hairy designs were minted. Notably, the pirates were also the first figures to feature alternate hook hands and wooden legs. In 1990, clearly inspired by the Playmobil version, the Ghost became the first specialized LEGO figure, consisting of a glow-in-the-dark shroud that slotted over a white figure with a black head to give the eyes definition. It would be 5 years until the second special figure would appear, namely the skeleton. In 1999, there came a major turning point, as LEGO introduced its first movie-licensed line in the form of Star Wars sets. This was when the minifigure really began to stand toe-to-toe with other action figures, principally because just like the standard Hasbro kind of Star Wars guy, you got a little version of a beloved character from your favourite movie series. Also like Hasbro, they could fit into vehicles and playsets. Unlike regular figures, and this is where their unique appeal lies, they were and are fully compatible with every LEGO set that has existed in years before and since. It is this universality, especially now that parents are unabashedly collecting, building and playing with LEGO alongside their kids, that makes it such an unbeatable global toy giant. Since then, there have been various additions to the minifigure. They got skin tones beginning with the basketball sets and then expanding to Star Wars and other licenses. Over the years, they have become more and more detailed, with tiny, intricate additions to the legs and torsos, new kinds of limbs and accessories, hats, hair, helmets, and headgear, along with hundreds of different facial designs. We'll use Luke Skywalker as an example of how the evolution has taken place over the past 15 years. To begin with, from the original Landspeeder set in 1999, this one has yellow skin, albeit with a character-specific face, standard hair, printed torso and trousers. A decade or so later, and you have the 2007 version with Caucasian flesh tone and updated hair to better reflect his on-screen presence in A New Hope. His costume is also a bit less fussy, better capturing the simple, iconic lines of the on-screen outfit. And finally, in the 2011 Millennium Falcon set, you get a new facial design and character-specific hair sculpted just for Luke. This sort of research and design ethic isn't cheap, and as time has gone on, LEGO has had to funnel more of their profits into the production of more and more brick, character detail and accessory elements each year. Since Star Wars in '99, there have been many successful licensed themes, several of which got a video game too, including Indiana Jones, Batman and the DC heroes, Harry Potter, Pirates of the Caribbean, Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, Spider-Man and the Marvel superheroes. As well as these, there are smaller, less impactful lines like Speed Racer, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, The Last Airbender, The Simpsons, Prince of Persia, SpongeBob SquarePants, Winnie the Pooh, and Lego Minecraft, which is a rare case of life imitating art imitating life. There are actually dozens of lines spanning decades of creativity. Too many to list here, and plenty produced by LEGO themselves, such as original IPs like Bionicle, Ninjago, and Legends of Chima. And as of 2010, LEGO began an ongoing series of separately packaged minifigures. These are sold bagged for roughly £2.50, and you will get one randomly packaged figure from each series assortment. This only adds to the immense levels of trade on the secondary market for everyone who wishes to complete their set without buying every new figure blind. On the collecting front, once you start digging, you will find all kinds of sellers, some specializing in just elements of the figures and bricks. Often you'll get drop-down lists of tiny accessories to be bought singly. LEGO have released dozens of exclusive, rare and promotional figures over the years, which are highly sought after and prized by collectors. There is also a roaring trade in LEGO-compatible figures. Many collectors would dismiss these out of hand for their unofficial status and likely cheap construction. However, in some cases where the LEGO figure is extremely rare and expensive, like this San Diego Comic-Con exclusive Green Lantern, which is so far their only released version of the classic hero, though that will change with the upcoming Justice League movies, Lantern here commands £127 online. This LEGO compatible figure, however, is £3.20. A price disparity so vast it's probably worth picking up the cheap figure first to assess the quality and to tide you over until LEGO unveil their official lanterns at retail. One good tactic with this sort of transaction is to examine the seller's feedback and search for the exact same figure to see how others have judged it. Since many of the minifigures come packaged only in large, elaborate and expensive sets, their resale value is commensurately high. For example, since the Mines of Moria set from the LEGO Lord of the Rings line retails at around £65, and this is the only place you will find the Cave Troll, this guy fetches around £14 plus postage on eBay. However, Gimli, being available in a variety of other sets, commands a mere £2.99. This has led to the fairly common practice of sellers purchasing LEGO sets, removing and selling off the figures piecemeal, and then selling the rest of the set sans figures. That makes it possible to pick up some really nice sets without figures inexpensively. For example, this Lord of the Rings Weathertop kit sold for £10.74 delivered, while boxed sealed versions with Aragorn, Frodo, Pippin and 2 ring wraiths go for over £50. This can, as you might imagine, get pricey. So often it may be simpler to buy the big sets at retail price and enjoy all the LEGO you can get from that. For example, the LEGO Movie has everyone chasing the many new characters. I could buy Emmett, Wildstyle and Unikitty for £5.50, £8.75 and £8.25 respectively from this seller, equating to £22.50 for 3 figures, plus postage costs. But set 70803, Cloud Cuckoo Palace, which features all 3 of those, retails at £17.99. And I picked it up for £16.50 delivered, which gives me an Executron, which would have cost me £5.75, a giant snail, £3.75, and let's not forget the diorama style playset itself. In other words, just buying the figures singly would have cost me £32, twice as much as the set. I am writing this during the first week that the LEGO Movie launched, and this is a rare case of sudden buyer need for these figures. Usually, considering the initial outlay on LEGO, this practice of buying up and dividing isn't hugely profitable at first. However, due to LEGO's practice of retiring sets after a year or two on the shelves, figures begin to increase in value until the rare ones fetch crazy prices. If you're looking for an investment market, you could do a lot worse than buying Lego kits and keeping them pristine and unopened, sealed in your cool, dry attic for 5 years until they are unobtainable, and then assessing the market for which will net you more profit, selling the kit in mint condition or mining it for minifigures to be sold singly. It's important to know what will prove to be desirable in 5 years. Harry Potter, for example, will always be beloved to a large amount of people. Speed Racer, however, was a big failure and now might fetch back less than retail price.
This is unrelated. As someone who just finished spending the majority of his life in prison, what happened with Legos? They used to be simple. Oh, come on, I know you know what I'm talking about. Legos were simple. Something happened out here while I was inside. Harry Potter Legos, Star Wars Legos, complicated kits, tiny little blocks. I mean, I'm not saying it's bad, I just want to know what happened.
There may be for newcomers a slight reticence in paying this highly for Lego minifigures. They are, after all, mini and pretty basic with it, sporting only 7 points of articulation in the legs, arms, wrists and neck. If we've grown up buying detailed movable statues of plastic, often hulking and heavy, it may seem like diminished value. Do bear in mind, however, that aforementioned classic compatibility with all kits, endless collectability, the ability to swap limbs, accessories and clothes and customize them, their resale value, and the high likelihood of this appreciating over the years if you keep them in good condition, a premise aided by their natural state being loose rather than sealed in a clamshell package, and most of all the boundless, timeless personality etched into every one of them. Speaking of price, there is something of an undercurrent right now, especially with new parents buying Lego for their children, for the first time since they were kids themselves, that the price has skyrocketed over the years. The assumption being that since Lego have to pay the licensing fees for all these movie tie-ins, then the price of Lego must rise accordingly. This is especially true if other people bought their Lego for them, which is a major contributing factor because it's very hard to focus on just how much our parents and our aunts and our uncles paid back when we were 10, and then further adjust that for inflation. I read a fascinating article by Andrew Salem, which I urge you all to read, called The Price of Brick, which used various intelligent metrics to examine what we've been paying for all these years. For example, if you take the first major Lego pirate ship released in 1989 when I was 9 years old, it was the Dark Shark, or Black Seas Barracuda, and retailed for £47.95 in Argos. Today, in 2014, with me aged 34 and my daughter now heavily into Lego, I can pick up the Lego Lord of the Rings pirate ship ambush set from Toys R Us for $75.99, which on casual inspection seems like a hefty increase in price for the same basic set. However, if you adjust the price of that 89 ship Dark Shark, it comes to £90, a full 14 more than the new kit, but it goes deeper than that. Andrew Salem crunched the data for the number of bricks in a set relative to retail price. His findings were that while there seemed no stable upward or downward trend in the price of each brick over the last few decades, there was a definite climb in actual brick count per kit from the year 2000 onwards. This is not across the board, however. The 1989 ship had 909 pieces, while the 2014 one only had 756, which is a 17% drop, even if you do save £14 on the inflated cost. On the other end, you have the inordinately cheap King's Castle, or Castle Lion, which was only £22 back in 1984, which today would be £52. However, the 2014 version of King's Castle is £80, which even adjusting for inflation comes to paying £28 more today. But when the brick count comes in, you can really see the difference between these two sets. 664 bricks back in 1984 and 996 in 2014, which is precisely 50% more bricks than the original kit, almost as though that figure were intentional. So in this case, you're paying 50% more for 50% more bricks. In summation, since both examples balance themselves out, it appears in either eventuality that we're spending about the same per brick still. The more complex sets then and now cost more, but once again, since the year 2000 they have become, on average, more complex. Not only that, but more prolific. Looking at the output rate of kits released per year since the mid-80s, they have upped their production and proliferation exponentially. As for the licensed sets, they may have sold more at first, but it has evened out in the later years as the novelty wore off and LEGO themselves upped their theme count per year. Movie lines subsequently became more of a standard, limited, and ever-changing accompaniment to the main themes. There's also the factor of growing size of the adult collector-focused kits, like the Taj Mahal, which costs so much and contains so many bricks that the perception of regular-sized sets that would have thrilled us as kids is that they are smaller. There's also the nostalgia factor to consider when buying older sets. The less complex, comparatively low-priced kits that surely shouldn't fetch too much on eBay now that we're adults with disposable incomes and we can pick up the ones we always wanted for a song, right? Wrong, because pretty much everyone else your age interested in LEGO is doing the same thing every day. Each set has a nostalgia variable that ups the market value. The only thing that can mitigate this is their mass availability, so the most popular kits that change hands every day command less. This sounds like a very basic collector 101, but these fundamentals must be understood if you are to successfully manage your buying and selling. And as I've said on the other videos, unless you're time short and money rich, research, research, research is your most valuable tool. This is my and my daughter's growing collection of LEGO minifigures. I also heartily recommend this book to everyone. LEGO Minifigures Year by Year, A Visual History. It's huge and detailed, will complement any collector's coffee table, fascinates kids and adults, and comes with 3 minifigures, including a stormtrooper. I've been Alex Shaw for ActionFigureResource. We hope you've enjoyed this video, and if on finishing it you don't immediately jump to a website or a toy store and start looking for LEGO kits, then we'll be very surprised indeed.
ActionFigureResource.com. Yesterday's toys, today's treasures.